Hello, everyone, and welcome to another NCYC 101. Today, we're going to be talking about parish delegations. Here, I'm joined with Rich Donovan. Rich, could you introduce yourself and also talk about your experience bringing a parish to NCYC?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rich Donovan. I am the parish youth minister or coordinator of youth ministry here at St. Michael's Parish in Cranford, New Jersey. It's actually my home parish. I grew up here, was confirmed and everything here in the parish. I've been the youth minister here for 14 years now. Prior to that, I was youth minister for 16 years at another parish. So I've kind of been around the block a little. For me, NCYC, I was exposed to NCYC the first time as a junior in high school. I went to my first NCYC in 1989 in Louisville, Kentucky. I had never been to something like this before in my life, like 7,000 or so people. I was blown away by it. I was amazed at how like the spirit was there. In your parish youth group, you get one experience, but you go away and with other kids, everyone was like on fire for the Lord. I came back like changed, definitely changed. And it definitely played a big part. And it was something that I knew in my heart that, if I was going to be involved in youth ministry, I wanted to make sure the kids got that opportunity to do that. So, for me, I would say, I remember we had taken in our parish, the idea of adoration. We have like First Friday benediction and adoration in the parish, but it's during the school day and high school kids really can't go to it. And so it was really wasn't something the kids were really exposed to. I remember going back a number of years ago at NCYC, was Indianapolis, they did adoration. And I remember they prepped us, sending us some information about, we could share with the teens. And I was a little concerned because I'm basically walking with like 20 high school students from my parish that really had never been to something like that. And I remember watching them and they were very reverent during the whole thing. And then I remember we got back to the hotel that night and we sat there in the room and we were kind of debriefing the day. And I remember the kids were like, what was that? And how do I get more of it? They were really, to the point where we actually remember that year on retreat, we had never had adoration on retreat. And so we had our priest join us so we could have adoration that evening on Saturday evening of the retreat weekend. And it really, I will say, like, all the planning in the world, I know there's a lot to do to make something like this go off and to go to this on the youth minister side. It is so worth it when you're there and you just see the way they react. You see the way they interact with people. They're just young people wanting to be young people, and the Holy Spirit just takes over while they're there. And it's really something incredible to see. I think it's really important for parish delegations to go. It's kind of nice that NFCYM has given this opportunity now. If you read my blog, I mentioned maybe talking to about your diocese if they offer something, and if they don't, now the opportunity exists for you to maybe go. There's a little bit of planning involved. I mean, it's a little bit more than going on like your weekend retreat, obviously, because there's cost involved in this and transportation and everything else like that. But it gives that opportunity for those dioceses that might not have someone in their office that can coordinate this, for them to still be able to have their teens involved in something like this. For me, I was very upset. The NCYC 2021, I did not attend. It was my first NCYC since 1989 that I did not attend, so I lost my title of streaks. I was not at the West Coast one this past year, so I'm excited. Our parish and our diocese is returning to NCYC in 2023 in Indy, and we are looking forward to it. So I'm even more excited because it's basically something brand new. I do not have anyone in our parish here in the program that went to NCYC in 2019 that are still here. They've all graduated. So I am, like some of you may be watching this for the first time, I am starting from square one. Trying to start that culture of NCYC and what it is and why should a teen take off 2 days of school and fundraise all this money to go to something like that. So I'm right there with you. And I know in our diocese, I wear two hats. I have the parish hat and I also have the diocesan hat. On a diocesan level, we're having the same thing. We have so many of our parish youth ministers have either left or moved on to other positions. And so we are starting again from scratch in our diocese, trying to, educate youth ministers of why something like this is, why is this important and how can it really bear fruit for your parish?
Great, awesome. So there's plenty of youth ministers out there who maybe it's their first year just doing youth ministry, right? But they see this as an opportunity for so much growth to happen in their own parish. Well, you talk about starting from scratch. And what does that look like? What should a parish youth minister do? Like number one, number two, how do they begin even planning or even deciding to go to NCYC?
Yeah, let me show you kind of the game plan we're kind of going to try to go here. So again, there is some sort of a culture. So maybe like a younger sibling remembers that his brother went to that trip a couple years ago where they went away for a couple days and he came back kind of weird when he came back, so they might kind of remember that just a little bit. But what we did a couple weeks ago was we basically just had a quick conversation about what NCYC is, and we just said to the team saying, hey, we're going to have in a couple weeks, we're going to have a night where we'll gather after our topic discussion night for the youth group, and we'll discuss kind of what it is and what it's all about and everything. Leading up to that, kind of when we do announcements, kind of treating it like, like a movie, we'll have prequel trailers basically. So I'll find some of the videos that NCYM has, some of the things where they have teens and young people that are testing what it is and what they've gotten out of it. And I will share those for about 3 weeks leading up to that event. We are going to try to get, maybe some of the kids that had gone, maybe to what we're doing, recording, see if they could do something. So maybe if in your diocese there is no one that has gone to NCYC, maybe you could talk to a neighboring parish or someone in a neighboring diocese, maybe, or I'm willing to even talk to you myself if you want. You want to reach out to me, I'm more than willing to talk to you about some of the benefits and if you have questions about it. But trying to get some different people to give some perspective to the group and then at least having a sit down with them and seeing, okay, you're interested, let's kind of talk about what this is. Here's what it is. Here's what it's all about. Here's some information, take home to mom and dad. Here's schedules. Here's what's going to entail. You got to have that conversation about, depending on where you're coming from. In our diocese, we leave Wednesday night, we drive through the night. So they're just missing the Thursday, Friday. Some dioceses, I know it might be multiple days you're missing to even get there. So you got to have that real honest conversation with them. Can they miss that school? And then also talking about that responsibility with them of, if you are going to miss that school, you got to make sure you watch the days you're out of school, you're missing and everything like that, because some students only get about 7 days, maybe a semester that they can be out. And unfortunately, most of our public schools aren't going to make it an excused absence. But that's what I'd say, you really got to start maybe showing them some things. Because again, if you haven't gone, maybe I might recommend, and I'm not trying to, say don't go with kids for the first time, but maybe if you're a little leery on the fence, maybe it might be something that, you can, as an adult, register to go to NCYC, and maybe you go yourself and you experience it and see what it's all about, so that you can at least, or, if nothing, maybe the first year. That's why when, years ago when I went in 1989, I was the only young person from our parish that went. And our youth minister had been involved with NCYC and in the region and said, hey, I want you to come so you could see what this is all about. And then when I was able to come back, I was able to talk about it and witness to it. So then 2 years later, when NCYC was in Philly, we took like 30 something young people from our parish. And also it helped that it was a quick drive down the turnpike to get there. But there was at least someone that could then talk about what that was and share that experience. So I would say is if anything, maybe if you were to go as an adult to go see what it's about, or bring 1 or 2 young people with you, and let them then be able to, like younger, like juniors or sophomores, that they can come back and then witness about it for your program.
Great. One of the things that I think a lot of youth ministers are scared, or there's a lot of fear surrounding it, is just money, right? Where is the funding going to come from? How are we going to afford travel? How are we going to afford even tickets for these young people to go? So could you talk a little bit about that? And then how do you combat that with fundraising and et cetera?
Yeah. So you obviously there's financial responsibility in this. There's an expense in this, obviously, to travel, whether you're going by bus or whether you're going by airplane, train or whatever. You're talking a couple $100 for that. You're talking the hotel, you're talking the conference, food, everything like that. And so you got to kind of treat it like the same way you would, if you're going to take your kids on a parish retreat. Like how are you going to figure out how to do that? You can't expect, especially with the economy we have, young people, their families, especially if they're going to have maybe multiple siblings going, they're not going to be able to afford that. So you got to really figure out what type of fundraising can you do. You need to check with your pastor or your school, the principal. What are you allowed to do? What can you not do? You want to look at things. Obviously, if you're going to do some fundraising, you want to look at things that are going to be, low risk, So when I say like that, like you don't want to go, go with a company and buy 300 of something to sell and only sell 100 of those things, and then you're stuck with that cost, and now it's lost something. So things that were like, you tell the kids, like if you're gonna have maybe like a pasta night or a pancake breakfast, where you could look at trying to get things donated or a cost, and then you have the young people sell a certain amount of tickets, and then you set a number and they have to sell 7 or 10 tickets, and then they've got to go out to their family and their friends, and and then they're getting them involved. Hey, I'm going on this event, could you help me on this pilgrimage to get to NCYC? And they're help supporting them. We've done pasta nights, we've done pancake breakfast, we partner with Applebee's, the restaurant chain, to help us with that. We've done like seasonal things, selling like the palm crosses, selling like flowers in the fall, things like that. We've done like the stock sale. Some parishes might do a stock sale. It's basically junk bonds, so they're sponsoring that young person to go. When you do, like we've done like like red, gold, red, blue, and like a blue is a $25, a red is a 50, and the gold is 100. And then each level they basically make that donation to sponsor you, and then each level gets some different things. Like they all get like a stockholders report, so they get like the young person writes a little letter and you do a little recap of the group's trip there. You invite them to like a stockholders party where like maybe the young people can witness to all those that donated. What was the event like, and thanking them for going. If they're a gold person, maybe you buy a little t-shirt or something and you send that to them afterwards to thank you, and you figure out your levels of what each level is going to represent. I mean, I'm saying 25, 50, 100. Maybe your parish does 100, 250, 500. I don't know, however you want to do it, and so and then that is then basically 100% money that goes directly to that young person and help sponsor them. I have a shaved head now. I did have hair back in the day, but I remember years ago we did a thing where if our young people raised $3,000, we started in like March and we gave them to like the last youth group meeting in June, and if they raised $3,000, they got to shave my head at youth group. And I went to that NCYC with a shaved head because they did it. So, so I mean, so little perks like that, different things. Maybe does your parish have a feast or a carnival? Can you maybe do something there where you could help set up a booth or something like that, or sell things there? Different things. Like I know I've seen some parishes do like the donut sales after mass and things like that, different things like that you could do. But, I've always wanted to try, and I've never have tried. So I don't know, Ryan, if you ever heard of these. I've always laughed at the flamingo, the pink flamingo thing, where you flamingo someone's lawn. So they buy, if I want to flamingo your lawn, Ryan, so you pay us $25 and you give us the name of like your pastor or a family member or someone or a friend, and we show up to their house and we put like, you go to Oriental Trading and you buy a bunch of these pink flamingos and you flamingo their front lawn, but then you can buy insurance not to get flamingoed. So it's like $50 to get not flamingoed, because if someone's going to come after you, and things like that. So I've always thought that was kind of a fun one. We've never done that. The other one, just it wouldn't fly really in Jersey here. But there's the cow bingo, where you get, if you've got access to a cow in a big field and you chart out the field in squares and you sell the squares, and you send old Bessie out into the lawn and Bessie does her business, and wherever it lands, that's who wins, So, it's basically playing like live bingo, I guess, basically. But, we kind of wouldn't do that really too much in Jersey here. But I mean, the more fun you can have with it, I know everyone does the car washes and things like that, but, you got to sit and look and say like, okay, we've got to, the more fundraising you can do that shows the parents, like I've done even where we've done fundraisers and we tell them, this is what we're expecting them to raise off this fundraiser. So if they come do this event and they participate in this event, we would expect that they should make this amount of money off credit for that event. And then they could start seeing like, all right, well, at the end of the thing, if I offered 8 fundraisers, but Joey only did 1, well, that's why you have a bill now for X dollars. But the goal would be is for them to try to fundraise as much as they can, because the benefit too of the fundraising, Rye, is, you probably know, and people watching this know, is the community that gets built from it. Those experiences of the young people participating with each other, and helps bond them, for when they go away, they'll get to know each other more.
Great. So once you kind of get all the fundraising and all the planning done, and then you end up at NCYC, what do you think is going to be something you're totally going to forget, but only a real veteran would know to do?
Yeah, I would make sure where, like, one of the nice things about Indy is, it's a very outsider traveler friendly town. So there's plenty of restaurants and there's plenty of food places to make sure you know like where like a local grocery store is, to make sure you know where a local drugstore like a Walgreens or a CVS is. You never know when you go away, and all of a sudden, you know, you got the one team that starts, and then, you know, the next day they've got the runny nose and everything, and you've got to figure out where you're going to get something, you know, some medication or something like that, you know. So you want to make sure you know where that is. Another thing I would tell you to do is, you know, as I said, I've been going to NCYC since 1989. Is, you know, I went to NCYC through 9/11, like 2 months after 9/11. And I remember one of the things that they encouraged us during that time was to make sure that your parish and or your diocese had an emergency location to gather in case, God forbid, something happens. You know, you pray nothing ever happens, but you know the world we live in. And so we always, for our parish, and for our diocese, we always tell our groups, this is our emergency location. And you want to make sure it shouldn't be like around the corner from Lucas Oil, because, you know, if something happens, God forbid, you want to get a little bit away. So we usually do it somewhere around our hotel. We'll designate like this Quickie Mart or this store is where we would gather in this parking lot. God forbid something were to happen. You know, even for instance, and like it's close to the hotel. Well, even if, for instance, in the middle of the night, the fire alarms go off at your hotel, where are you going to go? You got to make sure you know where all your young people are. So you got to gather them somewhere. So if they go to that emergency location and they just know where that is, and then you meet them there, then God forbid you don't have to do it. But, you know, make sure you find some spot and then make sure you convey that to the young people. This is where our spot's going to be. And hopefully, God willing, say a rosary, you never have to use it. So.
Well, great. So what if you had one last thing to say to a parish youth minister? They're kind of on the fence. They think they can do it. It might be realistic. They have some support, maybe not all the support. Well, what's going to get them to get there? And what's your last word of advice?
The thing I love about NCYC is, and again, since I do diocesan and parish stuff, is NCYC takes it to the next level that I just can't do. No matter how good I think I am, you know, or how many people I have that can help me volunteer, I can't replicate that experience or that community or, you know, what goes on there. I can try, and I'm sure a lot of dioceses do, and they probably do a really good job. But just the atmosphere, just the experience, just when you're there, that spirit that's there of everyone looking and saying hi to each other, everyone, the community that's built there, it is so worth it for your program to be able to do that and then have kids come back and be such on fire for the faith, and then to have that spread through your youth ministry program like a happy virus. So.
Well, on that note, if you're on the fence or you're looking to go to NCYC to have that experience and bring a delegation, you can visit us at NCYC.us. And NCYC this year, Fully Alive, will be in Indianapolis, Indiana from November 16th to 18th. Thank you.